A very good evening to you and welcome to our primetime news. I'm Sandru Ferdinando.
I'm Sonali Manikabadage. We start off first with a look at tonight's headlines.
CID summons MP Duminda Silva to appear at the CID for the third day. Acting Cabinet spokesperson says that the construction of the Colombo Port City is suspended. Government's lethargic approach to penalize those involved in fraud and corruption may cause the people to lose faith in the government, a warning from the JVP. Minister Ravi Karunanayake issues a challenge to Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
මම ඉස්සල්ලාම ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂගෙන් අහන්නේ හෙට උදේ වෙනකොට කරුණාකර තමාගේ වත්කම් බැරකම් ප්‍රකාශ මං මේ දෙනවා වගේ දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද?
Vasant Aluvihare, the Deputy Minister of Mahaveli Development and Environment, says that the government has temporarily decided to suspend the Uma Oya multi-purpose development project. Speaking at a special discussion convened today on the Uma Oya project, the Deputy Minister said that a report on the project has been called for within 3 weeks.
This is a major project. We cannot stop this completely. We can stop it temporarily and gather information. As I mentioned earlier, this is a $529 million project. 48% of it has been spent. As a result, subsequent to this survey being carried out, especially to check on the infrastructure of the area extensively, we will advise these officers to resolve them as soon as possible. I will act in accordance with the details in the report.
Acting Cabinet spokesperson Minister Lakshman Kirela today said that the construction of the Colombo Port City has been suspended. He made the statement today at the press conference convened to brief on Cabinet decisions.
The construction is taking place without an environmental approval, so the Prime Minister informed Cabinet that we will take all this into consideration and will take a decision on this in the future. That must be asked from them. That cannot be. The Prime Minister clearly said that no environmental impact assessment has been done. You must accept what is said by the Prime Minister. When Rajitha comes back next week, you can ask him this.
Have you suspended construction? It automatically stopped. It has stopped. That's what I told you. It has stopped.
However, our cameras captured the manner in which construction of the Colombo Port City project continued today. A construction named the Colombo Port City is underway. Many view that it will be good if this can be brought about in a new way. What is happening is a grave environmental destruction. A cabinet subcommittee has been appointed under the leadership of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to immediately present an estimate on the damages caused. There is a saying that this project was done under the fear of the Chinese. No one needs to take decisions by bowing down to the Chinese and India.
MP Duminda Silva was questioned by the Criminal Investigations Department for a third day today. Police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohan stated that the parliamentarian has been questioned for almost 20 hours up to now.
The police media spokesperson added that the questioning began based on statements recorded by Vile Sudha, who was arrested on charges of drug trafficking. SSP Ajit Rohan added that steps have been taken to inspect the bank accounts of the MP, and the motive of the questioning was to identify the source of the finances in these accounts. Questioning of the MP began on the day before yesterday.
Statements were recorded for almost 20 hours. We have completed recording his statements for the day. This is the standard way of investigation around the world. We don't want to arrest a person and release him on bail the next day. What we want is to conduct an investigation on all the wrong activities with the latest technology used and accepted around the world, produce the perpetrators to court and find them guilty before court.
Now questions were raised at the Cabinet press briefing today as to why MP Duminda Silva has not been arrested as yet. Minister, over the recent past on election stages, the JVP and yesterday Hirunika Premachandra and others spoke about drug trafficking and corruption. Many say they will step out into the streets. They charge that the government's approach is very slow. What is the government's view on this?
Did you not see that an individual was questioned recently? That is the start. Our government came into power to eradicate the injustice in this country. We did not come here to uphold the law of the jungle. We did not come here to do what was done by the previous administration. We need to take legal steps regarding these matters.
Speaking at a press conference, Hirunika Premachandra says that the CID is only questioning Duminda Silva. Charges are being made against him over drug-related incidents and the murder of her father. However, steps have not been taken to apprehend MP Duminda Silva. We wish to ask if there is an influence from someone on the top preventing this.
There is no such deal. If she knows these details, she needs to reveal who that person is. Rather than saying that there is a deal with a certain individual, she needs to expose him. That is the proper way. If you say a top tier person, that means everyone. There is no slow approach. This needs to be said. This government looked on for 20 years. Most of the officials are still loyal to the previous government. If you take a look at the police, you may find persons loyal to the previous administration. Am I lying? This is evident everywhere. The police, the army and the state service. There was one change. There is no slow approach by these institutions.
The JHU filed a complaint with the Department of Inland Revenue today against former Presidential Chief of Staff Gamini Senarath.
Jatika Hela Urumaya says that it submitted documents which include details of Gamini Senarath.
The Professional Railway Trade Union Alliance today revealed details of alleged irregularities that are said to have taken place within the Department of Railways in the past.
There are two routes spanning over 29 acres of land close to the Elphinstone roundabout. The Department of Railways had not used it and not a cent was paid to the Department of Railways when it was acquisitioned. Today the land is being used for other purposes. If you consider the Lemataguda railway premises, around 205 railway houses that accommodated railway employees have been removed and political power had been used to take over 3 acres of lands for the Carlton School. Recently 4,000 people were brought to Temple Trees citing that the gold looted by the LTTE will be given. They came in 4 trains. They were dropped off here and the empty trains head back and return again. 52 compartments had been used. The Department of Railways incurred a loss of 100 million rupees. 190 million rupees was spent on the construction of a 1 kilometer stretch of the coastal railway line. This could have been done with 50 million rupees. 340 million rupees was spent for the construction of a 1 kilometer stretch of the northern line. That too could have been done with 50 million rupees. These companies are doing the work for the construction of the railway line up to Beliatta. This company has decided that it will cost 1,040 million rupees. We say that it will only cost 80 million rupees. We wish to emphasize to Minister Ranjit Madhama Bandara to not let the Green faction commit the same wrongs that were committed by the Blue faction.
Electricity and petroleum-related trade unions say that investigations need to be conducted on the fraud and corruption and the perpetrators need to be punished. The trade unions expressed their views at 2 separate press conferences convened today. If you take into consideration the wages of those who hold administrative positions at the CEB, they have received an increase from 70 to 124%. What is this? This happened as a result of the circular that was issued in order to increase the wages in fraudulent manner. The approval of the Board of Directors were given to absorb those who were in Grade K to Grade E at the Electricity Board.
They weren't given vehicles just because Premadasa became Somadasa. Their salaries did increase. They only changed the name. Let the CID or any other party come and question me. I will provide them with a statement because this was purely a fraudulent activity.
මේ 16,000කට වග කියන 800ක් වැනි පිරිසක් රටක් පාලනය කරපු ජනාධිපතිවරට වඩා වරදන වරප්‍රසාද භුක්ති දෙනවා මහජන මුදල් වලින්.
Around 40 million electricity consumers are paying for their actions. Those who are involved with these activities should be punished. We will unconditionally consent to it. We will stand by it.
අපි පෙනී හිටනවා, අපි වෙනුවෙන් අරගල කරනවා, සටන් කරනවා.
තෙල් සංස්ථාවේ දූෂිත කියන සංගම මමත් කිව්වා.
Even I pointed out that there is fraudulent activities taking place at the Petroleum Corporation. Minister partly revealed this verbally and in his book Balaya Saha Balaya. Then the agreement is within the corporation alone.
හෙජින් ගිවිසුම පිළිබඳව පෞසියා මෙතුමත් අසන්තර මේ සභාපතිවර පැහැදිලි ප්‍රකාශ.
We made a clear statement and we didn't do this in a false manner. We involved the cabinet too.
කරේ නෑ මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයේ නියෝග අනුව කරේ කියනකොට එන මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයේ හිටියේ බලපුලුවන් කාර්යයක් ජනාධිපතිවරයා. එහෙනම් ඔවුන්
Therefore, we should take action regarding this. Do not waste time, if not another criminal will become the leader. Everyone involved should be arrested and necessary measures should be taken immediately. Minister, you have the documents. You can appoint the committees. If the right is not established and if those corrupt persons are not chased away, the voice that was raised against Rajapaksa will rise again.
නිවැරදි භූමිකාවක් නැති වුණොත් රාජපක්ෂට නගපු හඬ ඉදිරියේදී අපි නගන එක වළක්වන්නත් බෑ.
The JVP has warned that the lethargic approach by the government to penalize those connected with fraud and corruption will cause a fall of the trust placed on the government by the people. General Secretary of the JVP, Tilvin Silva, made this statement at a meeting yesterday in Makale under the theme Power Shift and People's Challenges.
The task of finding all the fraud and corruption has thrown everything into disarray. The government's approach in this regard is very lethargic. There are reasons for this. The government is not a group that panics. We have filed a complaint that KP needs to be produced in court and that the legal process be commenced. Yet nothing has happened. Everything is very slow. It did not take this long to arrest KP. Another government can be appointed in time to come. Details of 12 persons, including those of the Rajapaksas, were handed over to the Bribery Commission. The investigations are yet to take place. The Minister of External Affairs of this government, Mangala Samarveera, filed a complaint with the CID citing that Mahinda Rajapaksa conspired to stay in power on the day that the election results were announced. The investigations are yet to take place. This is astounding. It takes ages to record a statement. Vele Sudha was caught. He is revealing many details. It's been a while since he was arrested, and there does not seem to be any form of eagerness to conduct investigations and record statements. The police of this government, which is not interested in arresting and investigating the persons named by Vile Sudha, had pursued a person who was possessing a drug called Babul in Noor Elia. That person jumped into the river and drowned. Persons involved in fraud and corruption need to be penalized, but the approach that the government is taking towards this is lethargic. We say that this is wrong. Expedite the process. If not, what will happen is that the faith placed by the people to nab the rogues will be lost.
Minister of Finance Ravi Karnanayaka says that he is prepared to provide information on his assets at any given time. The minister expressed these views in response to a statement made by the former Secretary of Defence had made to a newspaper questioning how Karnanayaka had obtained his assets.
Mama mage gedara padincha labune man desapalට එන්න ඉස්සල්ලා.
I started living in my house before I entered into politics. I purchased that land in 1993. The house was built at the end of 1994. I was elected an MP on the 25th of August 1994. Here are all the details of my assets since 1993. You can look into it at any given time. The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption investigated it on 3 occasions and has cleared me. I wish to ask this first from Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Can he provide details of his assets by tomorrow morning? If he can, please convene a press conference such as this. I request him to present details of his assets gained since 2005. I also request that he does not insult us.
A special discussion was held today at the Presidential Secretariat with the participation of the President to introduce a comprehensive national program to rid the country of drug menace.
Speaking at the discussion, President Maithripala Sirisena stated that the attention of the new administration has been drawn to the drug menace which has affected the country and the people over a long period of time. He noted that although various programs were introduced under the previous government, due to certain reasons, these initiatives had come to a standstill, adding that the new government will be fully committed to this cause. President Sirisena added that steps will be taken to get cabinet approval for proposals which were discussed at today's meeting, adding that a new mechanism will be arrived at to implement the law in order to rid the country of the drug menace.
Looking back at one of our stories tonight, the JHU today filed a complaint with the Department of Inland Revenue against former Presidential Chief of Staff Gamini Senarath.
The Jatika Helu Urumia says that it submitted documents which include details of Gamini Senarath amassing wealth and property in an illegal manner to the Special Investigation Unit of the Department of Inland Revenue.
Bandara, who is in charge of finance at the office of Gamini Senarath, had transported 2 money-filled bags in a trolley from Temple Trees to Gamini Senarath's house in Gregory's Road at 10 in the night on the 21st of November 2014 in a vehicle bearing the number 301-9156. On the 28th of November 2014 at 9:30 p.m, 2 female Chinese nationals aboard the vehicle bearing the number WP-KP-0522 had transported a cardboard box weighing 50 kilograms in money to Gamini Senarath's house from the residence of Ravi Vijayaratna. At 10:30 p.m. on the 19th of December 2014, 2 boxes and a travelling bag filled with 30 million rupees was taken to his house by Nandana Lokuvitana. All the details of the lands and property of Gamini Senarath are under the name of his mother-in-law, Malkanti Gunaratna. Gamini Senarath has constructed a 3-story house at number 47 Gregory's Road worth over 1,000 million rupees and another house worth 300 million rupees adjacent to it. A four-mate factory worth over 5,000 million rupees with equipment worth 2,000 million rupees in a land of around 5 acres was constructed in 3 years. There's also a building worth 50 million rupees in Battaramulla down Pannipitiya Road and a 200 million rupee worth 10-acre land in Meegoda. In addition to this, there is a land in Bolgoda. There is a land worth 1,000 million rupees in Hakmana and another 50-acre land worth 200 million rupees in Bandagire Hambantota. There is another 15-acre land in Anuradhapura. There is a house worth 7 million rupees down Mata Road in Boralla and a 600 million rupee worth luxury house located down Gregory Lake Road in Nuwara. If the people are looking at this, the mandate that the people gave at the recent presidential election is one that is against corruption. Justice needs to be meted out for this mandate given by the people. People who misuse public funds need to be investigated and the law needs to be implemented on them. This is what we ask for.
The Cabinet has granted approval to free 1,000 acres of land and property in high security zones. Now, this information came to light at the Cabinet press briefing held in Colombo today.
In a summary, out of the lands which were under the control of the army during the war, 11,639 acres have been released already. To maintain the security of Palale area, 6,152 acres of land under the control of the Army and Air Force have been reserved as high security zone. Within the lands in the high security zone, about 1,000 acres of land will be released by this government, part by part. Firstly, we are going to release 220 acres of land. It's in the J284 in Waligam East Division, Secretariat, where there will be a resettlement village. It will be a model village where there will be schools, the place of worship, there will be hospitals, and each of these individuals which we are going to replace, we are going to have 1,022 families in that area. This is not only for North and East. This principle that has been laid down by the government covers the entire island.
At the same time, we have decided to free the land and give to individuals who do not own land in the area except for 25 acres from the land that is under the Air Force in the Panama area in the eastern province.
Meanwhile, Cabinet has approved the establishment of a special secretariat under the Inspector General of Police to investigate major financial crimes.
Chief Minister of the Western Province, Prasanna Ranatunga, says that the United People's Freedom Alliance needs to field a new face as its prime ministerial candidate. He made this statement at a press conference yesterday.
No, even I am against it. What I say is, why can't we field someone new? I am saying this because we need to win.
No, that
is not what I mean. If Chanduka contests from Gampaha, she will receive a large number of votes. Similarly, if Mahinda Rajapaksa contests from the south, he too will gain a large number of votes. If President Maithripala provides leadership to this will be a big strength. They are leaders and presidents. This has arisen because we did not create a second-tier leadership. I believe that the three of them need to appoint one person and take this journey forward. We never thought that we would lose. We hope to win this time around. I believe that Mahinda Rajapaksa wants to form the second tier. Now it's too late. We need to be prepared to form that.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the objective of the next election is to make the whole parliament a government. The Prime Minister made this statement at an event to felicitate public representatives who are products of Royal College Colombo took place this morning.
Many public representatives, including MPs, ministers and deputy ministers who are incidentally past pupils of Royal College Colombo, attended the felicitation ceremony, including Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Minister Sajith Premadasa and Rauf Hakim. A guard of honour was also accorded to the Prime Minister.
But what we have done is to work together with all the parties. In a way, this is a challenge. In a way, it's an opportunity. Because my hope is that after next election, people ask me, are you going to form a UNP government? Are you going to form a UNP SLFP government? Are you going to form an anti-Mahinda government? And my answer to all that is no. I want the whole parliament to be a government. Because I think all of us political parties have a duty by you. We are also responsible for the present political system, which allowed all this to take place. We made it a form of tribal warfare. And if we didn't make the change, the tribal warfare would have devoured us. But now we have a duty by all of you. A duty to ensure that you have a better future and a good future. We lost a lot during the war. We lost another 5 years. Instead of looking at reconciliation, and now the time has come to make up for what we lost, to ensure that in the next 5 years, we put the country right.
The 171st edition of the Newsfirst Media Literacy and Leadership Workshop took place today at the Aralaganvila Vilayaya Central College in Polonnaruwa.
Newsfirst, which travels across the nation to raise awareness amongst the students on media literacy, was extended a warm welcome upon its arrival to the Aralaganvila Vilayaya Central College in Polonnaruwa. The workshop commenced subsequent to a ceremony at the school.
This is a channel that is spoken of a lot. However, when you look at the journey that is undertaken by them, one can clearly see that this is a channel that everyone seeks for when they are in distress. Therefore, I respect their service as the principal of this school and as a citizen of the country.
The Newsfirst team provided an understanding to the large number of students on communication, technology and new media. The students who were included in practical exercises expressed the following views at the end of the workshop.
The 171st edition of the Newsfirst Media Literacy and Leadership Workshop took place today at the Aralaganvila Vilayaya Central College in Polonnaruwa. The workshop commenced subsequent to a ceremony at the school.
The Newsfirst team provided an understanding to the large number of students on communication, technology and new media. The students who were included in practical exercises expressed the following views at the end of the workshop. We are extremely thankful for a media institution like yours for visiting a rural school such as ours and educating us on media. Today we understood what media is. We were provided a better understanding on media.
On behalf of the students of the Vilayaya Central College, I wish to thank you for the service that you rendered here today by educating us on announcing, communication and media.
Newsfirst services were also appreciated at this event.
The tabling of a code of conduct was and is one of the promises made by President Maithripala Sirisena.
However, it is also one of the promises which had missed two deadlines set in the manifesto of the President. Newsfirst takes a look at the need for this piece of legislation and the causes for its delay.
This is often the scene in your parliament. Its functioning crippled by a lack of order and decorum, a speaker desperately trying to bring a semblance of normalcy so that parliament can do its job, serving the people. One of the main promises of President Maithripala Sirisena's manifesto is the implementation of a code of conduct for MPs. However, this has yet to be realized as both the dates for the tabling of the code as well as its adoption have lapsed with no solid progress yet to be seen. When questioned at the Cabinet media briefing regarding the code of conduct, acting Cabinet spokesperson Lakshman Kiriyalla had this to say.
The code of conduct was to be introduced on the 22nd of January. That's for public people, representatives to observe, and it was to be introduced for representatives of the people by the 2nd of this month.
We are drafting it. We are drafting it. We are a bit late, but we are drafting it.
Newsfirst contacted Asoka Obesekara, a governance consultant, to ask him what a code of conduct could do to help the functioning of Parliament.
Well, Anura Kumara Dissanayake heads up the Urgent Response Committee, which is a subcommittee of the National Executive Council. And he mentioned last week that he's in consultation with other parties regarding the code of conduct. He didn't, however, comment on what the code of conduct was going to encompass. But he did touch on the fact that it's trying to remedy the way in which members of parliament play around with their mandate. So this could well be an insight into the reformation of the practice of parliamentary crossovers. However, beyond this little insight, there isn't much clarity. This seems to be in line with this government's lack of consultative engagement, which they sometimes attribute to the fact that they have a very short time frame in which they have to implement all these changes. Regarding parliamentary procedure itself, it would seem as though the standing orders are the key things which should be looked at regarding the conduct of MPs within Parliament itself, and this hasn't been given much attention, and really it requires a lot more analysis.
Former MP and member of the National Executive Council Mano Ganeshan gave reasons for the delay in tabling the Code of Conduct.
Such a piece of law was not there in this country earlier, so we have to seek references from various other countries, legislatures where such laws exist. So that is the reason for some delay. I mean, because we are behind the schedule in the 100 days run. But anyway, tomorrow our National Executive Council is meeting. Leader of JVP, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, my good friend, has taken the responsibility of forwarding a draft of such law tomorrow. 1 p.m. we are meeting at the President's Secretariat. We are discussing about other issues also on the right information and also the 19th Amendment, which will cover sending your 18th Amendment, bringing in the 17th Amendment, also repealing the extraordinary powers of the Presidency and handing over to the Parliament. This is our most important issue.
Head of the Urgent Response Committee tasked with creating a new code of conduct, JVP leader MP Anura Kumara Dissanayake gave a more expansive view on creating good parliamentary conduct.
We honestly do not believe at any instance that this country's parliament or its members can be controlled by a code of conduct. However, the JVP is of the view that after publicly announcing such a code of conduct, they are just merely restricting it to an idea. When looking at the 100-day program, although certain timeframes have been allocated within these 100 days, we believe it is impractical. It may be successful as a policy manifesto, but if considered as a program saying that certain things will be done on particular days, it is impractical. We do not believe that implementing a code of conduct through a legal framework can resolve the prevalent issues. It is only through a complete transformation in the social economic body that may it be the Parliament, MPs, ministers and even the President can be controlled. We are in no belief that a code of conduct can resolve these problems through this dilapidated, unclean and crumbled society.
With the expectations for good governance high on the agenda, the current leadership has the opportunity to set the precedent to change not only a code of conduct, but also realign the moral compass of Sri Lankan politics by simply adhering to it.
Urging international patience, Sri Lanka's new government called for a postponement in the publication of a UN investigation into allegations of war crimes during the civil war in Sri Lanka. The New York Times reports that Foreign Minister Mangala Samaravira spoke ahead of a meeting with Secretary of State John Kerry amid warming ties with Washington, following early steps by the government to promote democracy and reconciliation.
The UN report is due in March and was approved by the UN Human Rights Council last year, which authorized the investigation. According to the New York Times, Minister Samaravira had said that Sri Lanka will create a domestic mechanism within 2 months to probe allegations of rights violations and bring perpetrators to justice. The reports add that the minister has called for the UN report to be held back, perhaps until August, saying that the UN findings could then be referred to the domestic mechanism for necessary action. Meanwhile, the editorial of the New York Times also reports that President Maithripala Sirisena's government has taken other positive steps to begin the healing process, adding that it has pledged to free hundreds of detained ethnic Tamils and to restore to Tamil owners land seized by the military for commercial development projects. The report adds that the Sirisena government must deal with the legacy of the past. The editorial goes on to say that any delay in the release of the United Nations report must be brief and the United Nations must remain involved. It adds that it is simply the best way to guarantee that the inquiry is swift and independent, that witnesses are adequately protected and that perpetrators are finally punished. According to the Hindu website, sources in New Delhi have said any attempt to challenge the new government in Colombo with an international genocide investigation at this point could complicate matters. Accordingly, the UN Special Rapporteur is expected to submit a report on a US-sponsored war crimes investigations, and a resolution on Sri Lanka's genocide against Tamils could also be tabled then. India has traditionally opposed any international investigation into war crimes in Sri Lanka, a position that led to India abstaining from the US-backed resolution at the UNHRC in March 2014.
The matter was also raised at the Cabinet press briefing in Colombo today.
Is it true that Sri Lanka has requested time, like to delay the UN report on war crimes submission?
We haven't asked for time, but they have recognized that we are taking steps in the right direction. And they have been considerate enough to give us time.
How long?
Well, you have to play it by ear. If we take adequate steps, because we have a 100-day program where we will abolish the executive presidency, restore media freedom, and restore the independent commissions. Right? I think a great part of our problem will be solved.
So, President Maithripala Sirisena's India visit, are they going to discuss about this UN problem, because India is also playing a big role in this?
Definitely, it might be discussed, because India's support is crucial. Because if India says Sri Lanka is heading in the right direction, and they have some positive signals from the government, it will go a long way.
Because India is not supportive for international inquiry.
No, never. India, the entire international community said, hold the internal investigation. That is what they said. And Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa promised an internal investigation, because he did not do it only, it went further. International inquiry.
UMP parliamentarian Buddhika Pathirana focused today on the issues faced by the people of Tellijavila Mathara.
The mobile clinic to identify the issues faced by the public took place today at the Tellijavila market. The speciality in this case was that the problems that were faced by the public were observed through reaching out to the public itself. When MPs from the government, they call us to their offices. MPs call us from their cool rooms. You might have heard of such things. Businessmen are those who are seated in the markets. However, we have brought the people's servants to the market for the first time in the history of this country. That is a true miracle of Asia.
Moving on to news overseas now. Australia faces increased pressure to reform its immigration system after a report showed more than a third of refugee children detained under those policies had developed a mental illness requiring psychiatric care. Now, according to Reuters, the Australian Human Rights Commission's inquiry into onshore and offshore detention centres also found nearly 300 instances of actual or threatened self-harm among roughly 800 children held in the camps between January 2013 and March 2014.
The Australian government has been criticised at home and abroad for its tough immigration policies. Those include sending asylum seekers to camps in impoverished Papua New Guinea and Nauru, where they face long periods of detention while their applications are processed. The report, titled "The Forgotten Children," said there appeared to be no rational explanation for prolonged detention of children and called for a government investigation. The report adds that the Commission proposed a ban on indefinite detention, closure of an immigration camp on Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean, and release of children held in the South Pacific island of Nauru.
An event was organized for the ceremonial launch of the qualification of Chartered Public Finance Accountants in Colombo yesterday.
The event was organised by the President and Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka and the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy. The occasion was graced by accounting professionals and was held under the auspices of Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayaka.
Have we as accountants done our share as professionals? Looking back at the information that we have been able to ferret in the last 30 days, me and my secretary in the ministry, we are astonished at the lack of professionalism that has existed. In a matter of fact, I don't think there anything that existed ever. Files missing from the ministry, unable to get the information that is on due time, public debt 45 to 50% more than what is anticipated is the problem we as a new administration has obtained. Good governance doesn't mean that we forget all of this and move forward as if nothing has happened in the past. Public accountancy, you as chartered accountants, being auditors, if you basically touch your conscience and ask, have you done your share in order to ensure those corrupt politicians have done what they have done? I'm sure you will be ashamed.
An individual has been arrested for allegedly selling his brother's 4-year-old child for 20,000 rupees. The police said that the arrest was made after information was received that the suspect was involved in the sale of children.
The raid was carried out by a police officer and a female officer attached to the Gampola police, who were dressed in civil attire. The suspect had attempted to sell the child to the undercover officers, who portrayed themselves as a couple with no children, for a sum of 20,000 rupees. The police said that the suspect was arrested on the spot. Interrogations have revealed that the child's younger brother had been sold to a house in the Kirapane area in Gampola. It is believed that this 2-year-old had been sold for 5,000 rupees. The police said that after nabbing the suspects, the child was taken to a relative's house in Kurunegala. Investigations have revealed that the child's mother was deceased and that the father had handed over the child to his brother before heading off to work. Further investigations have revealed that the rescued child has 2 other elder siblings. The police said that the suspect had informed them that the children were under probationary care.
A tragic incident was reported from Dadugama Vayagoda, where a mother and stabbed her son committed suicide by hanging herself. Now the injured child was admitted to the Watupitawala hospital.
These were the words of a woman in her diary, where she expresses her sorrows of life. This woman took away her life this morning by hanging herself inside her house.
There have been problems for 4 years now. The child was in hospital 2 weeks ago after she came home drunk and beat him. Our sister went there and sorted the matter out and brought them here.
Before committing suicide, the woman had attacked her 4-year-old son with a sharp weapon. Neighbors reported that after this attack, the child and his 13-year-old sister had fled the house.
The child screamed. When I came and looked, the child was covered in blood. We thought someone was after the child.
The injured 4-year-old Lasindu Anuhas is currently receiving treatment at the Vatupitiwala hospital. Lasindu suffered injuries to his head and hand in the attack carried out by his mother. Medical Director of the Vatupitiwala Hospital, Sisira Vijayasundara, said that the child was subjected to a surgery. K. Sagarika, who was depressed over her life and attempted to take the lives of her children along with hers, had ended the following in her diary, where she questions as to when her sorrows will end.
Two robbers who stormed into a financial institution in Bandaragama had fled after shooting the manager. Police said that the two robbers who had entered the premises wearing full-face helmets had attempted to rob the safe. Police added that at one time one of the suspects had opened fire at the manager. The injured manager is receiving treatment at the Panadura hospital.
Captain of the Sri Lankan cricket team, Angelo Matthews, says that his team consists of cricketers who can change the game at the right time. He shared these views during the opening ceremony of the 11th Cricket World Cup.
The opening ceremonies for the 2015 ICC Cricket World Cup took place in Christchurch and Melbourne today. Christchurch in New Zealand officially announced the inauguration of the ceremony. The ceremony, which saw a number of acts depicting the culture of New Zealand, also saw performances from Sri Lanka, South Africa and New Zealand.
Look, it's going to be a tough contest. It's going to be an even contest, and who plays better cricket will win. You can't really point out, players, but all 15 players are equally good, and on given day they can really turn around a game. So hopefully we can do that.
Thanks very much.
Meanwhile, a ceremony which comprised of cultural performances of the participating nations also took place in Melbourne, Australia.
And with that, we are about Primetime News. I'm Sandru Ferdinando.
I'm Sonali Manikabadage. Good night.